Yeah.
There we go.
All right, you've got permission to share your screen whenever you're ready.
All right.
So I think we can probably go ahead and get started. We've got a couple folks, so we'll make sure we get people out admitted in here. So I guess we'll just go ahead and kick it off. Welcome everybody. This is our April open call for the West Virginia Alliance of Recovery Residences. We host this call every month for recovery residents, operators, and staff. And I guess anybody really is welcome if they're interested in what we're talking about. We are making an effort to record these presentations. We had one issue where we recorded a presentation and it vanished into the ether. So hopefully that will not happen today. But we're going to have them added on our YouTube page and we'll get them posted on the website. So they'll be there for you all. This one, I'm assuming Jeannie's going to give a little information about her program, but it is going to be a time sensitive training. So, but hopefully she'll do more in the future. So in the interest of time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you, Miss Jeannie.
Quick, thank you. Can everybody just see the PowerPoint slide? It's not like, okay, we're good to go. I never know. All right, thank you so much. I know a few of you, so it's really good to see familiar faces. My name is Jeannie Harrison. I am a public health consultant with the state of Ohio. I work in drug overdose prevention here in Ohio, but I am a West Virginia girl. I grew up in West Virginia and came back to Huntington about 6 years ago to start an organization called GRO. And GRO is it's an eco-wellness company that does a number of different educational programs, but I want to talk specifically today about the GRO Nature-Based Fellowship and the facilitator training that we are holding on April 23rd. So this is very time sensitive. There will be more trainings in the future, and I can always come to a facility to train. So if you wanted to host a training in the future with some other facilities or just for your personal facility, that would be fine as well. But I'm going to be talking about the April 23rd training just to give you some context. And if you would like to send some folks, please do so. So I'm just going to briefly talk about our main programs. So GRO Eco Wellness is a social and emotional learning organization, and we do prevention programs for folks in long-term treatment and for youth. So my background is actually in youth prevention. That's where I've spent the bulk of my career, about the last decade, up until I started working in recovery about 6 years ago. So the GRO Nature-Based Fellowship is what we'll be talking about today. It is a community that incorporates natural activities into the traditional support group model, which those activities are usually gardening, but it can be tailored to your facility. It could be hiking, meditation, community service activities, etc. And I'll just briefly talk about the other two programs. Yoga EQ is Yoga for Emotional Intelligence. It is a social and emotional learning program that is taught mainly in schools, but is also taught in a number of recovery facilities as well. We have over 110, I believe now, Yoga EQ facilitators in 3 countries. It's really cool that kind of took off, but that all started actually, it all started in the community center in Huntington. Krista was actually working in her place at the time. And that whole program was sort of built out of that partnership, which is just really, really beautiful. And it's cool to see it come full circle. And then finally, we have our Strong Roots program, which is an eco-wellness program for youth and families. So it's incorporating that, what I would call not a continuum of care, but that kind of circle of care, building those strong family bonds through connection to nature, connection to the outdoors, and encouraging that kind of free outdoor play that is so important early on for children to develop social and emotional learning skills, but also for building those bonds between parent and child. So those are our 3 main programs. I just want to kind of talk a little bit about what the GRO Fellowship is and why it might be beneficial to your facility. So why connection to nature? That's often what I get asked a lot. And you may be asking that question when, if you were to hold this as well. It's kind of intuitive, I think, for a lot of folks. We sort of get that connection to nature, whether it's going on walks or getting out in the garden, working in the dirt, or just eating healthy food makes us feel good, right? It's intuitive. We kind of just get it. But there is also a wealth of research out there that supports eco-wellness, that supports nature-assisted therapies specifically. And we've seen a lot of really promising research in terms of relapse prevention and the building of skills through nature-assisted therapies. There's even things like, it helps college students with attention. It can help us with memory retention and creativity. It decreases anxiety. So there's a lot of benefits, but there's not a lot of opportunities for these sort of structured programs for creating those safe spaces to have access to nature. Very often what we see is you have like hiking programs that are, maybe a one-off in the woods for a weekend that you work with, a facilitator, but it's not something that's sustained over time. So what the GRO facilitator training does is it shows you how to hold these, either weekly, bi-weekly meetings, how to create those safe spaces in a natural setting, and how to do that in a way that is trauma-informed and ultimately sustainable. So when I say trauma-informed, the key with the GRO facilitator training is that, trauma is processed in the body physically, and physical labor is a great way to process that. We often say the issues are in the tissues, and we have a lot of research backing the benefit of physical labor, especially outdoor physical labor, in the processing of trauma and in the development of those healthy coping skills. So this is just a schedule breakdown of what the facilitator training looks like. It's, it's just a few hours on a Saturday, but can be really powerful in the long term. Now, where we are. So the GRO model became a formalized model that could be duplicated about 4 years ago. We are in a number of settings now. There are some communities that hold a community GRO Fellowship that meets every week. There are a couple correctional facilities that do so as well. There are a few in Ohio. There aren't any currently in West Virginia. And then there is a standing relationship between Her Place in Huntington with Marshall University. And I do want to briefly touch on one of the cool things that's come out of this is the GRO Works program, which is held. It is programmed through the Marshall Sustainability Department that is actually building a job skills development program for people that are involved in the GRO Fellowship if they want to get more deeply involved and do this job skills program. This isn't something that I do. It's something that my colleague Amy White does with the sustainability department, but you can go actually work in their compost facility and become a certified composter and attend college classes, get those professional certifications. So it's something that you can kind of take in a number of directions. It's really cool. Is there anything else I want to say about that? No, but it works in a number of settings. It could work in your facility and truly not that high of a touch in terms of commitment, but once the facilitator training is complete, it will provide the people that attend the ability to hold that space in those natural settings. And there's a number of other benefits that go along with it, including if you register a second person, let me change slides. If you register a second person, we encourage co-leads so that the program is sustainable. So we encourage at least 2 people from a facility to attend, not mandatory, but if you register a co-lead, the second person gets a 50% off discount. And then one of the big benefits is that there are monthly technical assistance calls for GRO facilitators. So that's a growing community. I love that aspect of it. It's just an opportunity for us once a month to touch base with each other, ask each other questions. We have clinicians on the call from other programs, and it's just a really great opportunity. If you're running into any issues with the fellowship, if you're running into any concerns or frustrations, it's a great time to kind of share that and to get that technical assistance. It also comes with the full program and curriculum and readings and access to our gardening education videos. So I will be dropping the registration link in the chat, but if you want to go find it, it's growfellowship22.eventbrite.com. And I really want to open it up now to any questions, so that if you have anything that you would like clarification on, we can go ahead and provide that. So I will unshare. Okay. Any questions about this?
I have a question. This is Natasha. Thank you for the overview of the program. I'm wondering, what is the age requirement to participate?
So for the
Can
facilitator,
we get youth involved?
okay. So for the facilitator, oh, I love that idea. So for the facilitator training, I would certainly recommend somebody over the age of 18.
Okay.
There is not a formal age requirement, though. If you have youth leaders that would be, good for facilitating, I think that they would probably want some kind of supervisor person. But I definitely believe in the power of young people. So if that is something that you would like to talk about offline, we could definitely touch base on that. But yeah, so I would recommend 18 and up. But beyond that, the requirements for facilitators, you do not have to have a background in any kind of clinical anything. You don't even have to be a person with lived experience. It is obviously encouraged, but the way we train and give people the background in sort of navigating this world, we try to prepare everybody who is passionate about this and is passionate about helping to be able to do that. It's not a prerequisite. So I hope that answered your question. Anything else?
Other questions for Jeannie? I'm trying to pull up a link here to your training. Jeannie.
Oh yeah, I need to share that.
If you have it handy and you want to throw it in the chat, that would be great.
Absolutely. I know that, this is an untraditional sort of thing. And I get that there is often some resistance to it. And I completely understand that. If there's any follow-up questions that anybody might want to ask me offline, I will also drop my email and you can feel free to reach out to me.
Thank you so much.
Of course.
We appreciate you. Hang out if you want to. Otherwise, if y'all have questions, you can email Jeannie in the contact below in the chat, or you can reach out to me and I'll send it to you.
Thank you all so very much. I'm going to go rest my voice. I have another presentation at once. So.
Thanks, Jeannie.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
All right. So I do want to say quickly, I have one little announcement. I'm just looking for the links here. There we go. I just want to remind everybody that the Fletcher group has an online training portal. We had a presentation by the Fletcher group here a couple of weeks ago. That was the one that vanished into the ethers. That was a very informative training, and we downloaded it and saved it, and it just vanished. So unfortunately, we do not have a recording of it, but they still have a website with tons of really good resources that I'm going to throw in the chat, just in case you all need that. And then also I want to make a note, and I'm looking for the link here too, that they are the Fletcher group. So just to clarify, the Fletcher group is based out of Kentucky. They have a HRSA, Center of Excellence for Recovery Housing grant with 10 target states that include, it's for rural recovery housing, 10 target states that include West Virginia. And so they have a point person who oversees technical support and training here in West Virginia. So they have unlimited free resources on their page specifically for rural recovery housing, which is all of West Virginia. So you can use that as much as you want. It's something that we would like to do more of, but just with our small staff and our capacity, right now, the partnership works really well. The Fletcher Group is also hosting a conference in Memphis. If I can find it, I'll keep looking as we go through here. And they're offering scholarships for anybody who asks, really. So they really want folks from their 10 target states to attend. So if you're interested, there it is. If you're interested in attending this, our staff is going to be there. It's in Memphis, so you could pick a worse location for sure. But they do offer scholarships. So I'm not sure how many scholarships they're doing, whether they're full, partial, both. But if you're interested, the link is there in the chat. So they're going to have lots and lots and lots of good content. I really, really, really recommend that. I think those are my only real announcements. I see we have a couple people from the Connections app here today. Welcome to you all.
Yep.
Is there some, do you all have something you'd like to share?
Yes, well, if anyone is not familiar with the Connections app and how to offer the app to individuals that are in recovery around, in your community, in any of the recovery houses, I do have a few slides I could run through, but I just wanted to remind everyone that's really easy to offer the app to individuals. Would you like me to run through a few slides, or is everyone familiar? Callie from our team just put in the chat group a quick enrollment link for the Connections app. So when you click on this link here, actually, you want me to share my screen and I can walk everyone through it?
You can if you want.
Okay. Oh, if you could enable me.
Autumn.
Autumn, thank you.
Yeah.
Is everyone familiar with the e-recovery and the Connections app? Yep. Okay. Great. So let me just share my screen. Let me go into that chat group then. Well, I'm sharing my screen here. Let me just run through a couple slides real quickly. The Connections app offering it to individuals, it's free of charge, right? Because there is a statewide project, or the funding has come in at the state level. So it allows us to offer the Connections app to any individual. Here is a picture of the Connections app. And again, as I mentioned, it's really great for individuals that are in recovery from substance use disorder or even need assistance with mental health. There's little to no effort to onboard. I really wanted to stress this part right here. Here is the landing page of the Connections app. It's a smartphone app, so it's downloadable from the App Store. But in order to gain access and log in, it requires a temporary password. And that temporary password is generated when it's offered two ways. So the first way is when you could reach out to a CHESS onboarding team. You can invite them, say, to come into a recovery house. Maybe you're having a meeting. You can gather everyone in the living room, and then you can invite the onboarding team to come in virtually, spend 2 or 3 minutes talking about the app, and then they can onboard everyone to the app. Right there, will only take a few minutes. That's why there's no effort on part of anyone who's supervising the houses. The second way to enroll someone is to utilize the link that Callie just posted in the chat group. When you click on the link, it will take you here to a real simple web form. Fill out this information, and when you hit submit, it will trigger that text message to the individual whose mobile phone you have entered. And now they will have a link to download the software along with that temporary password. And then they can log in. And as soon as they log in for the very first time, they will receive a welcome email from our engagement team. These are our certified peer recovery support specialists. Each of them have their own pathway to recovery. They are working inside the app 24/7. So 365 days of the year, everyone in the app will have access to someone no matter what time of the day it is. So they are available and they have been trained on escalation protocols, and they also are moderating our community discussion. So inside the app in the community, it's a very safe and healthy way for individuals to get help and to give help. We also offer virtual support meetings every day of the week, and these virtual support meetings cover a variety of topics, and there's the Zoom link, and the Zoom link is also posted inside the app as a reminder. Here's Callie and our contact information. And what I'll do real quickly is to just go to the chat group. If you guys want to copy this link, save it as your favorite in your browser. All you have to do is you can send this link directly to an individual, anyone in the community that you feel will benefit from the Connections app. And they just fill out this information, first name, last name, gender, date of birth, email address, payer name, and hit submit. And they will be added to, they will receive a link to download the software, and then they will also receive the temporary password and they're in. Any questions?
I'm sorry, what goes in the payer name?
Oh, that's a drop down. Let me share my screen. Great question. So here's the payer name. It's a drop down. Can everyone see? So you can, if you don't know, so this is their insurance, if they have insurance. If it's other, unknown, if it's a specific Medicaid program, other, if you don't know. So it's a drop down.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, and you guys can also keep this link. You could also save it on your clipboard on your phone. So if you're out in the community, you're having an event, you come across someone who you're having a conversation, and I got a really great link for you, and you could just have it on your clipboard in your phone, and you could just text it over to them. That's another way. So you don't have to have it just on your computer or a device. It can be any kind of mobile device. We're just trying to spread the word, get the Connections app into as many individuals who need it. As I mentioned, it's free. It's already been paid for. So our job here at Chest Health is just to make sure everyone is aware. And if you guys can help, offer it, that would be really great. There's a lot of great benefits. If you even want to download it yourself, all of you can as well. Thank you for having us today.
Yeah, of course. Do you have a little a flyer or something that you can send me for us to
Yep,
put
we have a
on
flyer.
Facebook?
Yeah, we have a one-pager.
Okay, here, let me put my email there. So that
Okay, Emily, perfect. We'll send you the flyer and we'll send you these slides. And at the end of the month, we're going to be enhancing the app, and we are going to be introducing gamification. And by
Okay,
that, it's where an individual can navigate through the app and you earn points for posting, for watching a video, giving, your comments, maybe supporting one another. Someone has a sobriety streak and they posted it to their wall, and you can say congratulations. So if we're uplifting one another, they're earning points, and then from the points, we could now in the future implement contingency management, where this would be more for a provider. But even in a recovery house, if someone achieved X number of points in the app, maybe there could be a raffle drawing. And we'd be happy to work with any of you if you want us to fund a gift card or gift cards. That's something we'd be willing to discuss with you. We can do that. We've done that for some providers as well.
awesome.
Okay. Thank you.
so much. Any other questions for our Connections app folks?
Okay, we'll be dropping off, but thank you so much for inviting
Thank
us.
you for coming.
Okay. Thanks, guys.
That's a nice surprise.
Okay.
Cool. Hi, Reverend Patterson. How are you?
Hi, Emily Burkhead. How are you?
I'm well. I'm glad to see you.
I'm old and tired.
Old and tired.
Yep.
I feel that way too. I don't know if that's true or not.
It's not true.
Okay.
You might be tired, but you're not old.
Yet. I'm older. So we just had a presentation from Jeannie Harris from GRO Huntington. It used to be GRO Huntington, about their training. We heard from the folks at the Connections app. Autumn, was there anything else that Autumn just popped off that you wanted to talk about specifically? You're muted, sweet.
I will be sending off a Google form probably within the next 2 weeks. So just a heads up, there is a revision of the certification preparation pack happening right now. So we have seen some gaps that we needed to fill and wanted to get some feedback from you guys. So I will be creating a Google form in which you could submit suggestions, just anything you think of. If you think you can make it better, please help us. We want this to be for you guys. You guys are the operating professionals. You've been doing this, and we want to implement what works too. So feedback from that is super important to us. Additionally, I wanted to see what kind of trainings would you guys like to see? Like, what kind of trainings in the future would you all like for us to have on here to present? Anything from, I mean, there's always like the traditional language things, but suggestions?
So let me pause. I want to add a little bit of clarification here. So to touch on the first thing, which I want to leave space if you all have questions about that. So with the certification packet, we're looking to finesse it kind of to make it more user-friendly for you all, to help you all navigate it, to make sure that what's in it is being translated the way that we're hoping it's being translated. And so we got some feedback about some things like the medication policies, for example. People were irritated that it was different policies, and I don't have an issue with making it so that you put it all in one form. So it can be something as small as that, or something as big as you saying, we think this is ridiculous. Here's why. If you think something in there is ridiculous, let us know. We really are open to feedback on that. And so Autumn's going to be sending out a form to get information from you. So this is not us saying we want to completely change the expectations and the requirements of you. This is us wanting to make sure that everybody's understanding what we're doing and how things are working. And honestly, we'll probably add some clarification for some things that have been maybe ambiguous or vague. I think for me, I like to see everything clear, and NAR likes to keep everything in that gray area. They love that because they don't want to tell you how to do what you do well. And so we really try to resist that too, as much as we can. So expect that coming. Does anybody have questions about that? This is really just feedback from you all. This is, again, I want to reiterate that this is not us saying it's going to look totally different next year from what it looks like now. We're just trying to finesse it and make it more efficient. The second thing that Autumn is asking is about training. So we have a few different opportunities to do some trainings. I think probably all of you were somehow affected by the certification mandate in some capacity or another. As a certification entity, we were a little bit concerned about that initially, that essentially with a 1-year certification every year, we're going to have this like inundation of certification applications basically. But essentially we're going to be looking at renewals and maintenance, I think, moving forward. And that opens up the time, outside of what looks to be, I would say, July to December, but probably more like August to December, for us to do some trainings and workshops and conferences. So as I mentioned, that Fletcher Group conference is awesome. Just to be honest, they have resources that we don't have. And so they're able to bring a lot higher caliber training to you than we will, at least this year. But we still are really aiming to have an in-person conference for you this year. We're working out the kinks of what that will look like, working on some opportunities for scholarships, for travel. We know that you're busy doing your jobs, and we want to make it as easy for you to attend as possible. I think, with all of the COVID things we had, we'll probably still do something hybrid to make it accessible. But I think we really need to have, Lord willing, I have no idea what the world is going to do at all, ever. But if we can have an in-person conference, we are really going to try to do that for you. So we're essentially looking at basically 3 different opportunities. And I know I've talked to some of you and you feel zoomed out. You don't even know what day it is sometimes. So we have the opportunity to bring speakers on this call, which we would love to do for you. If you have questions, things that you want to talk about. For example, one of the gaps that I see when I look back at some of the stuff that we've done, a lot of it has been like issue focused, like something's happening. And so we bring somebody on to present about that. COVID was a really good example of that. But I'd like to have somebody to come on and talk about fair housing and that kind of thing, and what you all can do with your programs and in your communities related to that. So that's me, that's not you. So we're wanting your feedback. The second thing is for us to do a Zoom training. Now I understand the resistance there, but we're happy to do that if you all would like for us to do that. It's much easier, in my opinion, for me to hop on a Zoom than get in a car and take off work and go, to the training. So there are positives and negatives of both. And then of course, an in-person conference. So those are the 3 areas that we're looking at. And maybe you need some time, and that's fine. But we just wanted to put it out to the group today. If there's anything, explicitly right now that you're like, I really am struggling with this, or I'm wanting to expand my program, how do I do that? So we'll open it up to you guys. Any feedback from you about that?
For me and for Infinite Pathways, the challenge is the whole stigma around recovery, and that leads to challenges within the community where you actually want to have a house or a facility or what have you. So I would be interested in how communities or providers have navigated that pathway, or what's the latest research, that kind of thing. Maybe, I know it's a good idea to call the community together and talk with them and what have you. But what I'm finding is that people's concepts and ideas are so far off the mark until it's extremely challenging to get them to even to any point of reasonableness. I mean, just the things that they think. I don't know where it came from. I don't know. So that would be of interest to me, and just maybe if it's just more than just talking with other folks and that have been doing this for a lot longer than we have, and this isn't a community that's a stranger to me. I mean, I pastored a church in this community for 31 years. My son and his family, my grandkids live there. So to think that I would do something that would endanger the community or them, that's not logical for me. So that's one of the things that I'm dealing with.
I appreciate that. I think we're experiencing that at a really profound level right now in West Virginia. And I'm sure other places, but I live here in West Virginia. I just had a meeting with Dave Sheridan from NARM, Bob Hansen from Huntington,
Mhm.
And it really was just like, what's the problem? You know, like there's always going to be a stigma to some degree, but the degree to which we are experiencing it right now is like exorbitant. And so one of the things that we had talked about was finding a way to do some kind of community training. And I do want to pause and say, I want to leave space for anybody that has immediate feedback for Reverend Patterson on this particular issue. I know a lot of you have done some really good work in your communities, but I also want to say that we've been talking about what would it look like to train the various communities in West Virginia. What would a good way of doing that be? And one of the things that's become very apparent to me in my time in this field and space is that a lot of times, if I want to say have a training about stigma around people in recovery, the people that come to that training are people in recovery and people that are allies of people in recovery. And the people that I really need to come to that training are nowhere near. And at the same time, what I've really found to be true this year in my unexpected involvement with the legislature is that they do have questions, and a lot of them are not terrible questions. And so, you know, the thought that I'm having is, how can we go to them? And how can we, you know, maybe, like I went to a homecoming event in Parkersburg. And for those of you who don't know, Parkersburg has really been central to this stigma issue this year. And I went to a homecoming event there, and I thought, what if we had like a presence here, you know, or a booth at least, you know, something. So looking for ways that we can get to the community rather than expecting the community to come to us. I'm not going to say I know how to do that right now. I know, Reverend Patterson, you're an ideas guy, so I'll leave that with you. Maybe you can come up with some ways of doing that.
Well, I'm going to have a community meeting. I've been threatening to do it now for a couple of months, but I'm really going to do it. And one of the things that I'm going to do is I'm going to take some pictures of some recovery homes that are entrenched in the communities, and then I'm going to display them on easels. I'm going to make them, you know, 17 by 22 or 24 by 36 or what have you. And it won't be just of the house. It'll be, you know, of 3 or 4 houses, and maybe the recovery home will be there. And so what I'm going to ask them to do is to identify which one of these houses is the recovery home. And so when you take a picture, say for instance, of the first house that Maria Beaver had, I mean, that's right in the middle of yuppie land, and I don't hear them complaining. They've got such a reputation to now, anytime property comes available, they let them know first so they can purchase it and put another. My nephew just built another place for them up there. So the stigma and the concept that people have in their heads is so far from reality until it's just unreal. So I thought about trying that and see how that would work. And then just have quite a few people there that have had positive influences. For example, the facility that we have in the Institute, the 2 facilities, the word was that they were going to decrease the property values. But if you saw before and after, and the person that's just right beside there that's been forever, she says that our home has increased her property value, not decreased it. But it's just, I think it's trying to help people face the reality, and just having people there to say, this has been my experience. Maybe I was skeptical, or I did have this whole stigma concept in the beginning. But since these homes are here, this has been our experience. They've actually been a contribution to the community. So I'm going to go at it that way, and then I'll report back and let you all know how it worked. And I'm just, you know, trying to wait to make sure I don't lose my salvation or my ordination doing this meeting. So I'm trying to get in the right frame of mind because it really doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I hope you throw them a couple curveballs in there too of those pictures and send them pictures of normies' houses.
I might have a picture of their house, unless somebody identify it as a recovery home.
Perfect.
Does anybody have any feedback or thoughts on this issue? I know it's a big one right now.
Natasha,
Hey,
I don't know how it would work or who would be the best. I'm with Reverend Patterson. I gotta kind of maintain my composure at times, but I'm wondering if there is any way that we can actually be invited to present at some of the community organization meetings that are had. Not so, got to be so careful because a discussion, in my recent experience, turns into a hate. Everybody's throwing stigma and hate and dehumanizing everybody. And so I wonder if there's a way to be invited to make a presentation that does things like Reverend Patterson just said. Let's talk about the positives that happen in that community, like the property values going up, like there being people who are employable to these places that are having a hard time finding people to work, that have, that aren't so leaning to recovery, because we're all there. We all show up at that show, but that are leaning toward the positive community improvements that happen because of a recovery residence specifically. And you'd have to get somebody brave to go.
I'm just like realizing that our offices are all at the Charleston Area Alliance, and they have lots of community meetings and events, and maybe that would be like just occurred to me. I'm like, who does those kind of meetings? Oh, the people who own our office space. So we can check with them and see, at least for our area. I see a few of you on here. Other thoughts? Krista, do you have anything to share on this? Do you want to tell us what's been going on with you?
I can't promise I'd stay spiritual about it.
No,
there's a lot that's being said that's very true. And just, I find that a lot of it is people that do not have any understanding of the disease of addiction whatsoever. A lot of people that do not care to know about it are categorizing human beings as just plain criminals, not good enough to, be in their communities. They should be in prison. And I know this has been happening for quite some time, but it's been more prominent here since this year, I believe. So just in these past couple months, it's been, one thing after another. And I just got out of a case that I took the city to court. Very scared about that, because I was going against the city that helped me, because they were trying to stop me from doing what helped me, which is operate a recovery home. So it's just one of those things where we just have to be in the forefront. We have to show up. We have to start speaking and being a voice, and not be so anonymous anymore. A lot of people need to understand, and I know it's difficult. I don't want to bring in my participants in the turmoil of it, but I do think it would be beneficial if we did have some sort of gathering where we could have maybe alumni, operators, just everyone that is really passionate about this and showing up for it every day, to do that, invite the communities, but every day I say this, I'm going to keep fighting because I know it works. And I know that if we did not have these organizations like you men and women on here, then it would be a lot worse out here than it is. So, and we would lose a lot more people.
So how do we get the political class on our side? Because on the one hand, they are at the city council or the legislature or what have you, and they allow these anti-recovery policies and laws and what have you to be placed on the book. And at the same time, they're bemoaning the substance use disorder challenge that we have as a state. So I don't know how those two things fit together. On the one hand, you're saying we really need to do something about the substance use disorder challenge that we have as a state or as a city or as a county, but yet and still, when those folks, the city council or the county commissioners or what have you come together, they allow all of these different, laws and policies and procedures to be put on the book that prevents us from doing what's necessary to treat someone. So those two things are, I don't understand that,
I think Krista hit the nail on the head. And like, they genuinely do not understand. They genuinely don't understand. I mean, I've talked to state agency attorneys that are basically like, speak slow and use small words, because they really don't understand this at all. And they want to understand it, but it is complex and complicated. And I think now, especially in West Virginia, there's gray areas around the peer support and billing and stuff that make it even more confusing for somebody to understand the difference between treatment and recovery. And so I think it really is. I mean, there's a facet of it that is just stigma. It's what we do when we are scared and don't understand something or don't like something, or somebody has told us something about this. And so what I have asked of the people on this call, especially in the last few months, and I'll say again, this really is going to change by inviting these people into your homes and showing them what you do.
Okay.
I mean, that is,
I will do that.
Having talked to, I'm telling you, Reverend Patterson, I don't know if you know this, but I had to go and testify at one of the committees about this. And they had a lot of good questions. The challenge was that there was a specific delegate in Krista's area that was trying to prevent us from even being able to answer questions. I didn't have to be defensive. I didn't have to yell. All I did was answer their questions honestly and authentically. And it completely shifted the outcome of that committee. And what I have seen and heard from the mayor of Charleston, even Mayor Amy Goodwin was telling us when we met with her a few years ago about having recovery, to have the CARES Coalition that she's formed here. She said that the thing that changed it for her was that she went to tour the harm reduction clinic one day when it was still open, when it was still running. And she was really confused about it. She didn't understand the issue. She could see both sides. And she said she's only allowed in a certain part of the building. And where she was standing by the copy machine, this little girl came in that looked exactly like her niece. And something in that experience was like, oh my God, that could literally be my niece, at any given time. And that really changed for her, just like anybody, you never know what the thing is going to be. But in my experience, it is very hard to deny something you see right in front of you. And to go and I mean, that's what Autumn and Danny and Jenny and I have been doing for the last few years, is coming into your programs and talking to you and talking with your residents and seeing what is happening in this house. How is this working? How is this helping? And that is, in my opinion, it's slower, but that's going to change. We're looking at ways we could do things like videos, but of course people have to choose to watch videos. But I think for you with your local representatives, inviting them in, doing these community meetings is not going to hurt. That kind of thing, where really just showing people, here's the truth of what we're doing, because, you know, the unfortunate reality of why we have an organization, this organization exists because people don't do the right thing, you know, and what we try to constantly remind people is that there's two sides of that. You know, we want to raise up people who are willing, you know, honest, open-minded and willing to do the things that we're asking them to do, even when it's hard or difficult or irritating. And then also, you know, we have this other space, but I have really tried to make this organization to shift it away from the punitive intentions that it had at its formation, I guess, to say it that way. The other thing I think is going to be really helpful is data. And that is something that in this realm, we are seriously lacking. Reverend Patterson, I know you have FYIDB. I can't remember the extent to which that looked at some of the outcomes and things. That's what we're trying to do with our rec cap. Hopefully, and Joey can lament with me, and Krista, it's moving very slowly. We are getting this for free at this time, so we don't have a lot of wiggle room to push people faster than they're willing to go when they're giving us something for free. But hopefully that will be available to all of you for free at some point. And it'll allow you to track the actual outcomes of what you're doing, to show changes in people's perceived quality of life and their sense of self and their self-esteem. Things that are still, you know, we're still working as a field of like, what does it mean to be an effective recovery housing operator? There's a lot of different variables there. And so it's not something that you can just say, well, you know, 10 people went through the house. Well, what does that mean 2 or 3 years later? You know, so we're still navigating that. But that is what our legislature wants to see. And right now where we stand, we have more data and information than we've ever had in West Virginia. When I started, there was not a composite list of who was doing recovery housing in West Virginia. Just 3.5 years ago, that didn't exist, you know? So we're making changes, albeit slow, but we are getting there. But that data component is going to be huge. So I would say, to answer your question, my two main recommendations are going to be get the numbers. You know, how many people are you serving? What does that mean? What does it mean when somebody goes through your program? You know, how many of these classes are you providing? How many people are employed? How many people are reunited with their families? How many people have transportation? Recovery capital, you guys, that's the kind of stuff we're looking at. And then the other thing is to invite them into your programs, show them what you do.
And I will add one, we've taken that a step further. We've just engaged a consulting firm that specializes in return on investment fundraising, so that what we'll be able to do is to say, okay, you gave us $5 million. Let's raise the bar. You gave us $5 million. And so this is your return on investment based on the putting a monetary value to the things that Emily just talked about. So if we can show as a recovery community what it means in terms of dollars when a person goes through our programs, and then they ultimately go to work or they go to school or what have you, what's that really worth? Particularly if you balance that against what it would have cost if they would have continued on being active in addiction. So I think we're on the right track when we're able to show the legislators and the funders that kind of data. Then it's not very hard to get what we want.
I'll tell you,
I'll say what we need.
Yeah.
We're not at the want stage yet.
Yeah.
We're still struggling for what for what we need to make payroll next week.
Yeah, I was on a national call with basically me in Missouri, and I actually asked him they have a report that they put out every year, They're called the Missouri Coalition of Recovery Service Providers, or MOCRIS. So it's recovery housing and peer stuff and recovery community work. It's all of that together. And they have for years been collecting the cost or the ROI data.
Right.
Here's what it costs us to do what we do. Here's what it costs treatment to do what they do. Here's what it costs the emergency rooms to do what they do. And all of that information. And so I just got that template this morning to see what he's doing. And so I'm going to try and find a way, you know, I'll probably have to tap into you all and ask you, you know, what does this look like for you? And that's something that we're really navigating, because that came up at the legislature multiple times this year. And to me, it's very simple. To me, if we can keep people in recovery and support them in the community, then you don't have to treat them again and again and again. I mean, there's going to be some people, yes, you know, it's anybody's guess. But if the system works the way we would like it to, if we kept people engaged at that point, then you don't have to do it over and over and over and over. And to me, the cost benefit there is just blaring.
You'll have to step off. I got it 2 o'clock, but
No problem. Thank you for coming. It was good to see you.
my pleasure. You all as well.
Does anybody have any other things that questions or anything they want to ask before we end here?
I have one last thing, really quick. So NAR has put out their call for proposals right now for our 2021 National Best Practice Conference in Richmond this year. Danny and I have been working on the programming committee, and we are asking for people to come talk about what they do best, and best practice standards that they implement in their recovery houses. So if you feel like you would host a great session and presented a great session, please feel free to submit your applications. Did we send that out on our email blast, Emily?
I'll
Put
get
the
it.
link-
out there.
I put the link in the chat also. There's a link to the proposal thing in the chat if you click on it. And also, if you feel like you might, you may not have to be the leader of it, but you may be able to speak on a panel. That's another thing. If you don't feel like you want to lead a whole session, maybe you can speak on a panel.
This is pretty exciting. So we're being coerced into having the conference here in West Virginia in a few years. I keep telling them, if the legislature doesn't quit doing what they're doing, I don't know that that's a good idea. You come down to a shutdown affiliate, but for right now, Virginia has asked us to co-host with them. So this is a really cool way to get some of our West Virginia groups highlighted, to get your work out there. I know Natasha's participated in the conference before. It's really just I don't know if anybody got to attend the Peer Recovery Conference that was in Flatwoods a few years ago. That was like my favorite thing that's ever happened. I mean, to have all of these people that know each other by email or by Facebook, or to see your name on a list somewhere, get to actually meet each other. Hey, Christian. It just was a really cool experience. And that's how I feel at NAR. It's like the one time every year where I'm like, oh, these people speak my language and they know what I'm talking about and they get it. And so I would love for any of you all to participate if you can. And we'd love to have you featured. I think that would be very cool. I also want to acknowledge that Krista won her court case. I don't think that we said that. So congratulations to Krista. We always leave a little room for divine intervention in this realm. I think you got it, if that were a thing. Any other thoughts or questions before we wrap up here today?
Hey, Emily, I want to say this back on the certification, just to throw something out and let you chew on it. But you said, we're recertifying every year, and every year that's going to likely to grow the number of programs getting certified. I would suggest looking into a way to where, if you've been previously certified, what has changed? Has there been any changes? If you all are not asking or implementing any changes in the certification process, something that is to where we can sort of there'll be a question, is there something changed in this policy or that policy? And if not, then it was good last year. It's going to be good this year. Has anything changed in your key personnel, your board of directors, or anything like that? Because you're not going to be able to review, everybody, and I don't want to recreate the wheel every year myself either. So I think there are some options there for you to include in the recertification packet, to where you can just sort of kind of import them from last year and say nothing has changed, and just kind of overlook that and just focus on what has been adjusted, any changes that have happened, and then any new implementations that you guys might be asking of us.
So I will say that when we built the platform, and we're just now getting into research, so we'll see how well this works. We actually designed it so that all of the documents that you submit are kept in a wallet. So everything that you attach is already there. So if nothing's changed, you shouldn't have to redo anything except attach it. However, I still think that it would be beneficial to add, and we can talk to our CERTME people, some kind of question maybe ahead of groups of steps that says, has anything changed in this? And maybe I'll have to check with her. I'm sure she's able to. There are random things that she's not able to do that kind of surprise me sometimes, but pretty much everything we've asked in the past, we tried to make it so that it would be that way.
Well, that way on your end, on the review side of things, you can just say, okay, we don't have to look at these 15 policies that have not changed from last year. So,
and I wanted to add this too. I know we had a serious revision for the 2021 certification preparation packet. There was a lot different, and that is only because we were building the plane as we were flying it, as a lot of people try to say. We didn't know a lot. For example, like when we certified Hawk, their first certification is the very first certification that we did without Ohio Recovery Housing training us. So there's a lot of things that we've learned since then. I know my knowledge has went from about this much to like this much and growing. And I'm seeing things that do need tweaked and changed, even from that, the initial recertification. So hopefully we're going to be at a point this year, and that's why we're asking for your feedback from this packet for things like this, is to identify all of those gaps that maybe we have missed, and being able to keep it consistent, unless, legislature does some crazy stuff and puts a hiccup in our certifications. So,
I mean, we're gonna, in my opinion, and I hope you all do this too, I do not believe in having a policy and setting it and never looking at it again and just moving from there. Like, I think that's how we end up in situations like we're in. So we are going to look at our packet every year and get feedback from you every year and see what's working, what's not. I mean, NAR does update their standards. Lord knows what the legislature will do. But I hope that the next time, like, essentially my intention, Joey, is to do on the reverse of what you're saying, that when we make changes to the packet, not only put out a new packet, but also a corresponding document that says, here's what's different. Because I think maybe that was where the issue was this year. We did have a few trainings, but I know not everybody's able to attend. And so again, we really want this to be a process that's supportive and conducive for you. And so we welcome all of that. So we'll definitely look into that when we meet with our CERTME person next time. And I really appreciate that suggestion. So look for that form from Autumn. And we appreciate all of you. And if anything comes up in the meantime, feel free to reach out. Thank you guys all for coming today. It's good to see all of you.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Krista.
Thank you.
guys.
Bye.